I just got to read a great piece by our next guest, Jim Salisbury, who joins us now. Jim, your new piece is up on the website. It has to do with a look back at the 2008 world champion Philadelphia Phillies on the heels of Cole Hamels' official retirement tomorrow night. Right. And I loved the roster construction element of the story. Like hearing Mike Arbuckle say they were unsure of Chase Utley or Rocco Baldelli at pick number 15 this year, and all the little things that went into building that club. It's an excellent piece. I encourage all of our diehards to go check it out. It must have been a lot of fun to write that story.
Yeah, it was a little trip down memory lane for me personally, but I think people like to read those type of stories. And,
absolutely.
It was natural to kind of hook it on Cole Hamels being celebrated tomorrow night, Friday, at Citizens Bank Park with a retirement ceremony. He's officially retiring, and I'm sure the Phillies are going to give him a nice send-off. A lot of his former teammates will be there. And, I mean, it just seems like yesterday for me and for you guys, I'm sure as well, that he was standing there holding up that World Series MVP trophy. I can still see him pitching in the puddles in Game 5. And what a memory. And, I told Cole this recently, and the expression I used was when I was 24 years old, I was in my mother's kitchen eating Cheerios. When he was 24 years old, he was putting an entire city and an entire franchise on his back and pitching him to the World Series. That October was just unbelievable. This 24-year-old kid going into, I especially remember him going into Dodger Stadium, and I'd have to go through my book or through the play-by-play, but I can almost see in my mind's eye him retiring Garcia Parra and Jeff Kent, just going through that lineup, and the game he pitched in Cincinnati, and just an amazing run. The games he pitched here, just what a postseason he had as a young guy, and what a memory that was. And that team, like you're right, I always thought he was a scouting and player development success story. Obviously, he was a great pitcher, and everybody could see the talent, but he had a medical issue. Phillies did their homework on it. They pulled a little end around on people by telling them, we're really not interested in Cole Hamels, telling other teams that, and they drafted him in 2002 in the first round, took a chance on him, and he paid dividends. But you look through that whole team, and that team was built. The core of that team was built on the back of scouting, good old school scouting and player development. Utley, Rollins, Howard, Madsen, Myers, Burrell, Ruiz, all came through the system. All were draft picks, and all had a little funny or interesting background story. So I just thought it was a good opportunity to kind of tell that and relive a few good memories.
Yeah, I love the part about, I forget what the scout was that saw Jimmy in high school and was infatuated with him, but that he wrote he was 5'9" and not 5'6", because if he wrote 5'6", he thought the Phillies weren't going to have his back there until they saw him. That's great.
Absolutely. Guy's name was Bob Poole. He was the Phillies area scout in that area of Northern California, and he loved Jimmy. And but he knew how the game was played. If you wanted to get the big shots to come see your guy on an early report, you had to juice him up a little bit. So he listed him as 5'9", and then I remember Marty Wolliver telling me he went out to see him in the pouring rain, and he had an umbrella, and Jimmy hit a stand-up triple in the pouring rain, and Wolliver stood there and said, don't miss another one of this kid's games, so pretty good. I love those stories. How these, Jimmy in high school, he threw 93. He was their closer. He was their shortstop and closer. He'd come in and blow people away in the 9th inning, the 8th inning, 7th inning, whatever they play in high school.
Jim, before we get to today's team with the Cole Hamels retirement tomorrow, I think a lot of people remember the highs of 08, the lows of 09, and you pair that with, you bring in Holiday, you bring in Lee, you bring in Oswalt. 2010 to 2012, Cole Hamels was just he would have been on another planet for any other team because of how good he was.
Yeah, he really learned a lot from 09 when he struggled. He didn't come in shape. He got hurt. He kind of went on that kind of world tour after the World Series, and he didn't take his offseason serious enough. And he sort of found religion in terms of health and conditioning after struggling in 09. I mean, if he's, good and healthy in 09, I don't even – they traded for Cliff Lee that year, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I wonder if
he signed Pedro as well.
Pedro, they definitely don't sign Pedro if he's pitching good. Maybe they don't even
Sure.
trade for. I guess they probably still would, but yeah, he learned a lot from his struggles. 09, he was really great in 10 and 11, and but you're right, he was kind of like the number 3 guy on those teams. But his maturation and development as a major leaguer after the World Series, I thought was exceptional. After the learning experience and struggles of 2009, he really latched on to Halladay. And I think, benefited from his counsel, and that helped take him to another level. But, great homegrown left-handed pitcher. I guess the best in Phillies history, right? I don't know. I mean, Steve Carlton wasn't homegrown.
Homegrown-wise, yeah, probably.
So
unless Ranger can give him a run.
Yeah, we'll see. Cole Hamels was really good, and I hope he gets a nice, appreciative reception tomorrow night. I'm absolutely certain he will, because Philadelphia loves a winner, as the old saying goes, and he was a winner, and he helped deliver a memorable moment for all of us.
Yeah, it was pretty great. And Jim, this team is pretty great that we currently have. There's one glaring need. I think it's become crystallized over the last 2 weeks here. This outfield, I think offensively needs an upgrade. To me, it makes more sense with Brandon Marsh being more of a better left fielder than center fielder to try and address the center field position. But left field could also be on the table. As Dave Dombrowski told Matt Gelb from The Athletic the other day, it's still way, way, way too early. We're 40 days away from the trade deadline. But is it safe to assume that outfield is almost a guarantee that they're going to upgrade that position somewhere?
I think it's almost a guarantee they're going to try. Sometimes you can't get the player you want, get to the finish line. Sometimes the price is too high. I think the prices will be high. And I think the Phillies, there are certain people they need to be protective of in their minor league system. This is still a team that, is 20 plus games over 500. And we don't know if, the front office is going to take one course in terms of a big ticket or a different course in terms of a more around the edges marginal upgrade. And I think that's still to be determined by what they're going to get out of Castellanos. Is he turning the corner? I mean, I don't know. He's so inconsistent. You see 0 for 13 or 14 in Baltimore, and then he's 7 for 13 against this last series. Again, who'd they just play?
San Diego Padres.
They take 2 or 3 from the Padres, and he's 7 for 13. So it's the ball good. Drove a few, won a game. So I don't know which way they're going to go out there, but I do expect them to do something. I would guess maybe a right-handed bat in either ability to play center or left, and then they can mix and match. But a lot of it also depends on the guys they have. At some point, the guys they have need to step up and produce. Marsh needs to play better. That was a pivotal error he made yesterday, or misplay, I should say. Mm-hmm. He's got to deliver more. If he wants to play against left-handed pitching, he has to show something. He hasn't done that. So, but they need something out of a lot of guys out there. There's going to be a mix and match situation for a while, and try to ride some hot hands. And then if no hot hand emerges, that's where the front office is going to have to step up and fix something, because they're not going to let a flaw go unfilled on this team because of the high payroll, because of the superstar talent they have, because of what they could do in October, and they need to do something big in October. The odometer is always turning on this team. Your core is not getting any younger. You got some nice young pieces coming. You got that secondary core in Bohm and Stott that are young and pushing, but you got your older core, Harper and Turner, and Real Muto and Schwarber. They're all north of 30. So they need to do something. Need to do something big here in October, and they're all on the same page. I think they feel that way.
So real quick, Jim, you mentioned there's some guys they have to protect down there. Everybody's valuations are different on these prospects. To you, like, how many guys? Because like Justin Crawford, for example, just had a month of June that's silly. He's playing great. How many guys do you believe are truly kind of like an untouchable?
It all depends. For me, there's really, untouchable is a tough word. It depends on the opportunity. It depends on the opportunity that's presented you, the player that's presented you. I guess you'd listen on everybody, but I'd be really, center field has been an issue around here for a long time, and you might have a pretty good one coming. I'd be kind of protective of him, but again, depending on the opportunity, you never know. You never know. You get a controllable pitcher who's healthy, or if the player you're trying to protect is maybe blocked at the big league level, a la Logan O'Hoppe.
Sure.
And they really liked Logan O'Hoppe, but Real Muto was going to be around for a few years, so they were more open to that move. I'd be kind of protective of Crawford, but again, depends on what's presented to me. I'd be very protective of Aiden Miller, but again, it depends on what is presented to me. And then, the prospect still has to develop. Nothing goes in a straight line. They were very protective of Griff McGarry a few years ago. He hasn't progressed. McAble, I'd still like to see him get here, and I think he certainly has a chance to do that. He's only 22 years old. He's young. Development is a fickle thing, and I know he has struggled this year, but I remember it takes pitchers time. So I remember it took Gavin Floyd. They got impatient with Gavin Floyd. They traded him. I think it was in the Freddie Garcia deal, and Gavin Floyd went on to be a 17-game winner in Chicago. Had a pretty nice career. Maybe he didn't live up to being the fourth pick in the country, but a lot of guys don't live up to being the fourth pick in the country. He was a valuable big league pitcher. So I'm not ready to throw away Nick Abel in a deal, but maybe your ears are open in the right deal. Again, I think you listen on everybody. It depends on the opportunity because you never know where you're going to be blown away, but you're more protective of other guys. So again, like center field has been kind of an issue for a long time around here since Victorino left, maybe, right? Have they had anybody you could really depend on? I'm trying to think.
No.
So maybe be nice to have Crawford around. He's going to need some time. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, but then you have to balance that with the here and now. And the here and now is if you got a team you can think win the World Series, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, Luis Robert looked pretty good too, Jim.
Maybe there's a situation or a need that prompts you to go for it. That's why those guys make the big decisions. And I'm sitting here talking to you guys, and you look like you're in your bedroom.
I'm sorry, Jim. I'm sorry.
So, Jim, you brought up that second wave, like the younger group of the immediate core, and the one guy in particular, Bryson Stott. I'm, a big fan of Bryson Stott. I do believe one day he could be a guy that competes for a batting title. The approach has been a little off recently. But I think the at-bats have been better as of maybe the last handful of games. Is there anything you've noticed from him either during the slump or kind of maybe starting to emerge that was the reason for his, first part of the season struggles?
Yeah, I think in spring training they wanted him to be a tad more aggressive, and he might have gotten caught in between a little bit because I think he is, by nature, a pretty selective hitter. I mean, he had that in his pedigree as far back as UNLV. I think that's one of the things they liked about him. It's one of the things they liked about Bowman, the draft, is they had some selectivity. I think it becomes kind of a fine line, though, when you start, maybe taking fastballs. I think they would like him to be a little more aggressive. I haven't really dug into the numbers, but it just looks like he's missed some fastballs this season, especially early, that, a good hitter is going to get to, and I think he will get to eventually because he is I agree with you. I think he's a good hitter. But he hasn't really driven the ball like maybe you'd expect coming off last year in terms of, building on it. And hasn't, like I said, it looks like he's missed some fastballs, but it does look like he is coming around a little bit. And that's hitting. Sometimes you have a bad month, a bad half, and then it comes. But the guy's a grinder, and I do like his makeup a lot. He doesn't seem to panic, and he doesn't seem to get down when he still does something in that night's game to help you win. And I think the last few games he has swung it better. He's got some multi-hit games. He might be on the verge of connecting with something here and giving the team a lift.
Jim, one of those guys that is putting pretty good bats on balls and had 6 weeks there to fill in was Edmundo Sosa. Trea Turner is back now, obviously, which is a good thing. How realistic is Edmundo getting time in left field? What do you envision his kind of role being going forward? Is he worthy of more than 2 starts a week? Can they finagle it? What do you expect from Edmundo Sosa's kind of role here?
I kind of expect him to be the guy that they acquired, a guy who can play all over the diamond and give you a little energy and a little production and play, good defense. Kind of see him getting back in that role in multiple positions. If one of those positions turns out to be left field, it wouldn't surprise me. I think he's got the aptitude to be respectable out there, to be presentable, serviceable, whatever the word you want to use. I mean, he's been working out there a little bit this week. He'll continue to do it. If they see him making enough strides, I don't think they would hesitate to put him out there, because nobody's really seized that opportunity. Why not? Give it a shot. You're 20-some plus games over 500. The guy can move. He's not like sticking a immovable object out there. He's got some athleticism, pretty good footwork, moves well. He's got some hands. He's got a lot of baseball sense. I think there's a chance he could go out there and be serviceable, but he's going to show the team that in workouts. And then if he gets a shot out there and he hits, he'll get some time out there, because there's an old saying, if you hit, they'll find a place for you. And it's going to come down to that.
So real quick, Jim, based on the evaluations they're making of him playing left field, how inclusive of a process is that? Is that part Rob? Is that part defensive coach? Is everybody? Yeah, everybody's on deck.
That's one of the real. It's a good question. It's because I think baseball teams will run a lot differently nowadays than they used to be. It would be, the GM and the manager would talk about it, maybe coaching staff. But there was a day when there wasn't even an outfield coach. So now you have outfield instructors and multiples, and so they'll be all in on it. There's that collaboration buzzword that all teams use, and all organizations use in and out of baseball. And it's valuable to get multiple points of view. It's valuable to get multiple opinions. So they'll have their outfield instructors digging in on them, actually giving the instruction, giving feedback to the manager, giving feedback to the general manager. They'll put readings on them analytically. They'll use.
I was just going to ask that. In this day and age, are they like analytically tracking practices?
They can. Well, they track, like a simulated game for a pitcher. They can track that. I'm sure they can put some type of technology on his movements out there if they chose to. I don't know that they are. Yeah. But they could put him through tell him, okay, this is a game speed workout, right?
Yeah.
And sure, they could put some stuff on him. And we're gonna hit the ball in the corner. We want to see how quick you can get it to second base. We want to see how fast you can cover these 37 feet.
Sure.
Yeah, they can do all that. Now, I don't know if they're going to, but it will be a collaborative undertaking. They will have multiples instructing him, and then they will all talk about it. And they'll talk about it right up to the top, from Sam Full, Dombrowski on down, your coaching staff, your field staff, your manager, and they'll come up with a course of action. And if he plays well enough, then it kind of becomes up to Rob to put him on the lineup card. And I think if he played well, Rob would use him.
One last one for me, Jim. Probably no longer a secret weapon, because I think he's getting valued around the league at this point just as much as he is in Philly. Matt Strahm.
Yeah.
The streak ends at 20 some odd games of scoreless appearances, gets right back in it this weekend and throws another scoreless inning. For a guy that I shouldn't say only, but for a guy that doesn't have the 98, 99, 99, he's throwing 93, 94. What makes Matt Strahm, A, so deceptive, and B, so difficult to hit?
He hides the ball a little bit in that turn, so I think there's some deception there. But the thing I see with him is, he's been a starter, he's been a reliever. He's kind of reached that point where I think he believes he's good, and he's loaded with confidence, and he's backing that up with execution. He's executing his four-seam fastball, putting it in good spots, which is a must when you're not 98, 99. And that slider is a good pitch for him. And he commands it so well, and he commands it to righties, he commands it to lefties. He's getting both righties and lefties out. He's just on a good roll. I think sometimes you get in a pretty good bullpen, and they all kind of lift each other because they're all pitching well. I know occasionally they have their blips, but for the most part, it's been a good bullpen. But, Strahm, what I see is, I think his walk rate is down. His control is excellent. His command is excellent. And his confidence in executing those two pitches that he really relies on seems to be off the charts. It seems like when he runs in the game, he can't wait to get the ball, and really valuable guy, can give you more than 3 outs. Heck of a pitcher, heck of a signing by that front office. Yeah. But I think he belongs in the All-Star game. I've always thought relievers get short shrift. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. Because we look a lot toward starting pitching, we look a lot toward big offense, but there's that guy that has to come in a 1-run game in the sixth, and keep it a 1-run game, so your offense can get a few more at bats and take the lead, and your closer can get there and lock it down, or come in the eighth and get a huge out, or get 3 huge outs. And he's been that guy. But I see confidence, I see command, I see a willingness to throw that slider and getting some chase with it. Hitters are really chasing it, starting in the zone and leaving the zone, and he'll get a swing on it. So he's been really good. He deserves to be at the All-Star game.